Hi, my name is Connor Casey, and I'm the head of the Labor Archives of Washington, which is a part of the University of Washington Library Special Collections. You may be aware this Labor Archives is a community archives that was actually founded by the labor movement in the Pacific Northwest in late 2010, starting with a fundraising campaign in 2008. The Harry Bridges Center for Labor Studies and the University of Washington Libraries decided to create a special labor collection based on about 2,000 cubic feet or copy paper boxes of legacy material that were already here that were not being processed due to budget constraints and lack of prioritization. As head of the Labor Archives, I curate new collections. I often lead outreach and instruction, so teaching classes about how to use the records and the value of these records for faculty and students at the University of Washington or other area schools and universities. In addition to our activities over the last 14 years, which have included bringing in a lot of collections and also helping unions and major labor organizations and smaller labor organizations set up records management systems that dovetail with their existing systems. We've also benefited from the labor of over 172 students, community volunteers, directed fieldwork students, people from the information school, the history department at the University of Washington, and we could never get this work done. We're a community archives because we document the stories of a particular community, but we are also in community and we also benefit because only a community can do this work. So I think that's another way in which we're a community archive.
My name is Eulalie Matthew and I work here at the Labor Archives of Washington. This past year, I've had the opportunity to work on lots of really interesting and exciting projects. I worked on indexing oral history videos from the Pacific Coast Pensioners Association, interviewing retired longshore workers about their lives and their involvement in the union. We're able to use a variety of tools to provide enhanced accessibility to our oral history videos, and we now have a web portal to the Pacific Coast Pensioners Association videos that launched last February. And we have more oral history projects coming soon. We've also been able to incorporate student volunteers into this work to help us with creating indexes of the oral histories. I've also been very lucky to work on the Michael Withey papers. Withey was the lawyer for the families of Silmy Domingo and Jean Viernes, who were two Filipino-American labor organizers who were shot in their union office in 1981, and through a big lawsuit they were able to prove that the murders originated and were ordered by the Marcos regime. The Withey papers in particular have been a very exciting project. This collection also highlights lots of intersecting issues, including racism, US imperialism, as well as labor issues.
My name's Ernie Dornfeld. I work as a records processor with the Labor Archives. For several years I worked as a volunteer, and then I finally am on staff just a few hours a week, but I like the work. Some of the things I've been working on are, I work on different kinds of records, basically taking the records from the form they're in when they come to the archives in boxes, and sometimes organizing or arranging them, preparing inventories, and trying to find ways to integrate electronic records into the textual records and making available so people can find what they're looking for. Some examples of things I've done in the last year are I've worked on a large bunch of records from the Washington Education Association, which is a professional organization, or was originally a professional organization that didn't have much of the characteristics of a trade union. But over the years that changed when teachers were able to do collective bargaining in Washington State, starting in the late 1960s, started acting a lot more like a union, and does today, especially its local units in school districts. I've also worked on some records that are not records of a trade union so much as records of individuals who were active in the labor movement. One example is the papers of Ross Reeder, who was active in the trade union movement for a long time, but was also sort of the prime mover behind the Pacific Northwest Labor History Association. And his records contain a lot of stuff about that organization, his activities, the labor calendar, which people may be familiar with, and conferences of theirs. Another example is the Bob Hasagawa papers. Before Bob Hasagawa was in the legislature, he was a leader in the Teamsters Union, and especially the movement for democracy in the Teamsters Union. And so those records reflect his work as a Teamster and as a leader in the union.
We're also always available to consult on different projects people might want to do in their own organization. You should look at our website, laborarchives.org, poke around. There's a bunch of online exhibits and resources. We really took a note from the labor movement, and we do this by organizing. This is a labor of love from a community of care.